You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. You like me, just really feeling the offseason right now? Feel like nothing is going on regarding your San Antonio Spurs. With that, we're going to start diving into our season recap. We're going to start off with the individual players. Then at the end of this series, if you will, we'll do a generic overall season recap. But who is in the spotlight today? The big man from Austria, Jakob Poeltl. We're going to be looking back at Jakob Poeltl's season, the pros, the good, the bad, the ugly. Should the Spurs still consider trading him? Yes, there was rumblings that he was going to get dealt ahead of the NBA trade deadline. And then go over some Spurs news and notes that you may have missed. Who is helping me recap Poeltl's season? The one and only Rudy Campos from Sweep the League. Rudy, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. Are you feeling the Spurs offseason, man? It feels like forever since the last time the Spurs played.
Yeah, it seems to be like, years and years ago since we last saw the silver and black playing on the court. It's off season, man. It's going to be a tough off season because it's such a long off season.
Yeah.
But you know what? We'll make it. The grind will be back. The silver and black will be back on the court.
Yeah. I mean, in the short term, there's going to be the draft. So as soon as the season's over, the playoffs, that is, it's going to be full on draft mode. And then, yeah. So just hang in there, Spurs fans. We'll be here right here at Locked On Spurs to get you through the doldrums of the Spurs off season. By the way, make sure to follow Rudy on Twitter at Sweep the League and check out Sweep the League. He'll be talking about that and much more later on. Rudy, let's go ahead and talk about the big man from Austria. Look back at his season. You got to start off with the way he started. Not many people expected him to have this much of an impact that he did last year. He was a walking double-double. A defensive beast. He had praise from Joel Embiid saying that Poeltl is one of the most underrated centers in the league. And Rudy, let's not forget, there was a moment early in the season that many thought that the Spurs go as Poeltl goals. Overall, I think he had a pretty good season.
Yeah, he had a really good season, Jeff. I mean, you've seen the improvement by Jakob throughout the years with the Spurs roster. I mean, Spurs lineup. And it's improved. He had a very good season. I mean, you're talking about a guy averaging 13.5 points, 9 boards, just over 9 boards a game. The most important thing was he was, I believe, 7th in blocks at 1.7 blocks a game. So he brought his defensive presence for the silver and black too. But my thing with Jakob was I feel like he was the answer the Spurs needed in the middle. I know he had some injuries as well. He was out a few games as well there at the beginning of the season. But I still felt as Jakob continued to play, the Spurs were going, in the right path. So with him on the court, it was just a different team, a much better team. And I liked what he did this season for the Spurs.
Yeah, average career highs in points, as you mentioned, Rudy, 13.5. Career high in rebounds, 9.3. A career high in assists, nearly 3 at 2.8. And recorded a total of 118 blocks. And averaged a career high, at least in defensive rebounds, at 5.5 per game. He also averaged a career high in offensive rebounds, Rudy, 3.8. And he's perfect from the 3-point line, 1 for 1. Remember that heave he had during the game and he made it. You look at the numbers, you're like, wow, not bad at all. Not bad considering he was a throw-in in the Spurs, Raptors, Kawhi Leonard, DeMar DeRozan deal. And yeah, he became okay. I'm gonna throw this number at you. Would you say he became the third most important Spur this year? Maybe lower, higher?
I would say, third would probably be right for him. I know you might have fans say, well, what about Devin? What about so-and-so? But Devin's emergence was towards the end of the year. So Jakob has been pretty consistent the entire year. I would almost put him at 2, just behind DeJounte Murray, to be honest with you. Keldon really, his emergence was towards the end of the year, so a lot of people would have him at number 2. But for me, it was Jakob and DeJounte's year for the Spurs.
Yeah. Again, the early start to the season, remember when he went down and he was out for a few games and the Spurs kind of sputtered a bit. And that's when the whole thing started saying, well, this is Jakob, the most important player for the
Mhm.
Spurs. And as the season went on, Murray just exploded on the scene. You mentioned Devin and Keldon towards the end, but you fast forward, or in this case, flashback forward, if you will, to the
Mhm.
Spurs and at the trade deadline, and there was a report that came out that the Spurs were interested in trading him. I believe it was to Charlotte. Oh, I'm sorry, it was Charlotte and Toronto. Those were the two teams that popped up,
Yeah.
and because they, obviously draft picks were going to come back. Kai Jones' name was rumored to be in there. There was even a rumored Pascal Siakam, and even Jakob Poeltl did an interview with an Austrian outlet saying that, yeah, he was aware that he was being dangled. So that leads to this question: despite having the good season he had, Rudy, should that still be on the table? If you're the Spurs, if you're GM Brian Wright, if Rudy Campos is in the war room, should Pirtle be a piece that you want to dangle out there to trade? Because if the reports are true and then Jakob verifying it, he was on the trade table.
Yeah, honestly, man, every player, no matter if you're Jakob Poeltl or LeBron James, every player is on the table no matter what. I mean, that's
You're
just
talking
the
about the
business.
Spurs roster right now. Just everything in the Spurs roster.
Oh yeah, basically it didn't
Okay.
matter. I mean, every player in the league, but on the Spurs roster, everybody's tradable. I mean, you've got to listen to offers no matter what. You've got to listen to every single offer. If you have people calling about DeJounte Murray, you have to take the phone calls. And I understand for Jakob, but being that he's got a career year, if you're getting draft picks in return, I mean, that's something that we all said draft picks are gold when it comes to league. And you're looking at Jakob, I mean, a career year, but what's most importantly is that he's only got 1 year left at 9.3 million coming up
Mm-hmm.
for next season. That is so lucrative when it comes to today's game. You're getting a guy who can play defense, who upped his averages in scoring and rebounds, and you're getting him for relatively inexpensive. So that looks good for other teams. They say, hey, it's a 1 year deal, basically. We're getting him cheap. He could help us in the playoff run. But for the Spurs too, I mean, if you keep Jakob Poeltl and you say we're not taking any more calls, is that really a bad thing? I mean, it's only 1 year left on the deal, and for 9.3 for the production that you're getting from Jakob, that's a steal in my opinion. So I still think that they should take phone calls when it comes to Jakob, especially with the draft coming up. But at the same time, I wouldn't be mad if Brian Wright just hangs up the phone and says, "I'm not taking any more calls."
I look at the situation and I'm there with you as far as Jakob is concerned. I think you should still put him out there as far as a trade bait, because let's face it, he got better offensively, but he still, isn't the right stretch five that the
Mhm.
Spurs need. We saw him, get handled by Jonas Valanciunas, a big man who can't stretch the floor. We've seen other athletic bigs kind of explode on him. For as much as he does great, and he does, he still isn't the stretch five I think the Spurs team needs, unless you disagree.
No, I agree. Right now, the league, I mean, unless you've got a Jokic, I mean, you're pretty much needing a stretch five. I mean, Joel Embiid is the other guy that comes to mind. He can
Mhm.
spread the floor. So right now, with today's league, a stretch five is a must. Now, are you going to get one through the draft? It's kind of hard considering that the Spurs, without us knowing the lottery happening right now, we don't know who they can get, but I mean, unless you're going to be able to get a Paolo Banchero or a Chet
Mhm.
Holmgren, there's not really very many stretch fives in this draft. And if you look at the current free agents right there on the market, there really isn't a stretch five in there. I mean, if you want to talk stretch five, maybe Mo Bamba is probably that's only going to be available. You got Bobby Portis coming up, who's another potential free agent that can shoot the three ball. But I mean, right now with the situation the Spurs are in, you might just have to rely on Jakob for one more season because there's not very much available outside of a trade.
Yeah, and you look at those offensive numbers as far as shooting. Obviously, he got a lot of the damage done close near the rim. He shot 61% from the field, took about 10 shots per game, made about six. But yeah, 3-point shooting is right there. I mean, obviously, we're joking earlier, about that heave he made to make the three, but he doesn't take threes at all.
Mhm.
You look at the 2020-21 season, he didn't take a three at all. The season 1920 season didn't take a three at all. He in his career, Rudy, he's only taken 2 3-point shot. I'm sorry, he's only made 2-point shots. He's only attempted four, I believe, 4 or 5 3-point attempts in his entire career, stretching back to Toronto.
Wow.
So, he just doesn't take them. And this is the three, live by the three, die by the three kind of league. I mean, look at recently Denver versus the Warriors. I mean, you saw Golden State just go ballistic from the three line to end the Denver series. You look at Draymond Green knocking down threes. You mentioned, Joel Embiid knocking down threes, Joker knocking down threes. But at the same time, his value on the defensive end, one of the best defenders. There's sometimes I'm torn with Jakob. I'm like, yeah, keep him. He's a solid player for this team, still young, but at the same time, such a liability. So you're okay entertaining trading Jakob Poeltl, but would your price tag be expensive for him?
No, honestly, my price tag would be if you're looking at Jakob, you're going to get a decent deal for him. You're going to get some draft picks. Now,
Yeah.
are we talking number one picks, like first round picks? Probably not, unless it's in the late round
Mhm.
for a first round pick. But it all comes down to if he's that missing piece for a certain team. I mean, if you look at a team like, for example, like Milwaukee on this
Mhm.
sense, they could use a Jakob Poeltl on the defensive end. I mean, they're still going to be probably the team coming out of the East, but that's a team right there that could definitely use Jakob's skill set, and they might pay, the late first round pick for him. But if
Mhm.
you're asking for anything on Jakob, I'm talking maybe a second rounder, possibly a late first rounder, and a prospect in return. I mean, a young guy
Mhm.
that can come in, whether it be a center or a power forward or even a three guy. I mean, a three guard. It doesn't matter. Just whatever you can get for him. You're not going to get a Derek White type of deal
Right.
in return, but you should be able to still get a few draft picks in return, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah, you look at the Spurs right now, and as far as the big man depth is concerned, Jakob Poeltl is, one of the better centers in the league, at least offensively. But after that, it's a little bit of a drop off. You got not a rookie anymore, but Jock Landale, who didn't really get too much burn. His shot kind of fell off towards the end of the season. Zach Collins still coming off that injury that set him away from the league for about a year and a half ish.
Mhm.
Is he going to be able to sustain that type of health for an entire season? And yeah, you look at what Jakob did, after the All-Star break, he upped his numbers. He went from pre-All-Star to about 13 points per game to 14 and a half after the All-Star break. He upped his rebounding from 9.2 to 9.7. So, you're like, man, he does good. He does good. It's just that other side of the court.
Yeah.
Now, to his credit, though, Rudy, he did develop somewhat, I guess, kind of something like a sky hook. I mean, I don't know, it was kind of more of a flick, that was effective, but you just need more out of him in that department, don't you?
Yeah, and it was funny because I was thinking about that earlier when he gave me the ideas of what we were going to talk about, and I'm thinking, man, he developed a poor man Tony Parker's like teardrop is what it
Hmm.
was, and you know what? It was effective. It really was. It was able to help him score some points. He was able to very consistent on it. I
Hmm.
actually really liked it. But when it comes to Jakob, I can completely understand the frustration of fans and everybody around because you're singing the praises and then you're like, well, he didn't really do much and oh, he's getting burned inside. But that was kind of like the whole team this year. I mean, the
Hmm.
inconsistency was not everywhere around, not just on Jakob, but you got to remember in the draft this year, they got 3 first round picks. There's some big men that are going to be available
Hmm.
at each and every time at selection that they're picking at. So, I
Hmm.
mean, the replacement for Jakob could be in this draft, but I still think you hold on to him for one more year at the end of the day.
And we're not even talking about this too. He also is a liability on the free throw line.
Yeah.
Now, to his credit, he did up his percentage from the charity stripe after the All Star break. He was pre All Star about 46% shooting from the free throw line. Post All Star break, 56%. So he got better, but teams do go to hack a Pirtle and they dare him to make the free throws. So yeah, this is something to think about. Should the Spurs still entertain thoughts to trade him, keep him one more year, as you mentioned, because he's an expiring contract. There's that. But yeah, with him, there's so many pros and cons. It's like right down the middle. He's young, check. He career season, check. But then the cons is free throw shooting, field goal shooting outside of the paint, Then you go back to the pros, defensive centers, one of the best, check. Go back to the cons. Can't even knock down a three. Doesn't even take him. So yeah, he's to me, he's like right there. But if the Spurs decide to retain him for one more season, fine. If they try to deal him and get a package back, fine. I mean, that's where I am at right now. But hey, we're gonna give our season grade for Jakob Poeltl in just a couple of seconds. But I want to talk to you about BetOnline.net. It's your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. You can find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. They even have a bet like lines on futures, such as Will Popovich will be back next season. They have it all over at betonline.net. It's your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and much, much more. Speaking of esports, the NBA 2K League season has just started, so you can put your bets over at BetOnline. Head to the website today or get yourself online via your mobile device and learn more about the trends and action. You want to go to BetOnline. Why? Because that's where the game starts. We're back with Rudy Campos with Sweep the League, and we're going over Jakob Poeltl's 2021-22 season. Pros and cons, the good, the bad, the ugly. We kind of debated that. Now it's time to give out our grade. Rudy, you're the guest. You go first.
Always the spotlight on me when we do the grades here. Man, if I had more Jakob Poeltl and he wasn't injured at the beginning of the year, I would have really been closer to, honestly, an A for him because of everything that was improved on his side. But I'm going to stick with a B. I'm really giving him a B. He's right in the middle. He had so much improvement, points per game per up, rebounds per game per up, 1.7 blocks a game. One of the better defensive players in the league.
Sure.
But I still have the thoughts and the doubts of whether he can be the big man of the future for the San Antonio Spurs, especially in this league right now. So I give him a B just because I saw improvement, but I just didn't see enough improvement to make me say, all right, let's get this season started with Jakob at the 5.
I'm going to give him a B plus. I'm not going to give him an A. I think what's hurting him from an A level is the fact that he cannot extend his range outside of the paint, and that is really hurting him right now. And look, to his credit, he still had a career season despite not being able to knock down the outside shot. I mean, kudos. Jakob found ways to be effective, was really important for the Spurs in their rebuild. But B plus for me. What's hurting him is the lack of outside shooting, and the free throws, really hurt. Again, but applaud for him getting better. It just needs to get even more better, excuse me. That was bad English right there. Just get better. At least now in this point of his NBA pro career. I mean, that shouldn't be an issue, but nevertheless, I'm going to give him a B plus, but we want to hear what you think about Jakob Poeltl's 2021-22 season. Let Rudy know on Twitter at Sweep the League. You can let me know on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. All right, Rudy, let's go and look at some Spurs news and notes and catch up everybody and get your thoughts on some news and little things that have been going on since the offseason has started. And I want to take a look at what George Karl, the former NBA coach, Hall of Fame bound NBA coach, is doing. And if you don't know, kids, people associate George Karl with the Sonics and the Nuggets. And he had a lot of coaching stops, but he got a start in the ABA/NBA with the San Antonio Spurs. Was a point guard, played with the Spurs from 73 to 78 before he retired. But Rudy, once a Spur, always a Spur. He has not forgotten his Spurs roots and continues to share memories of his time in San Antonio on social media.
Yeah, man, you've got a lot of former Spurs that just love their time with San Antonio. And hey, kids, trust me and Jeff, George Karl did have hair. He really had hair.
Yeah. Long flowing hair.
You can go back. It was like a lot of locks and everything. But man, George Karl with the Spurs, I mean, you're talking about greats, with the San Antonio Spurs, and for just our opinion, had a great, time with the San Antonio Spurs, led the coaching, the Sonics, the Nuggets as well. Really great guy. I've talked to him actually one time, and
nice.
Really nice man, really great guy. But you and I go back to the legends. When it comes to George Karl, you talk about what Larry Keenan, James Silas, Captain Late. I mean, those days, ABA basketball, Jeff, I was not alive for it, but I sure as hell did my research on it.
Yeah, I have vague memories of the ABA. I'm old enough to remember those days. I remember when the Hemisphere Arena was just one level. That was it.
Oh
There
yeah.
wasn't two stories. And I remember when everybody was smoking in the Hemisphere Arena. That thing used to get so smoky in there because lighting up cigarettes was okay back in the day. But yeah, George Carl, I mean, you got to check it out. Kens5.com/Spurs. He shared video of him in the locker room with George Gervin as they're getting ready for a game. I thought that was the best.
Hmm.
He even mentioned how before there was Steph Curry, there was former Spur Louis Dampier who used to knock down threes. So yeah, you gotta see this. It's perfect for the off season. You know, we're taking a walk down Spurs memory lane, courtesy of George Carl. Now, in other Spurs news and notes, and Rudy, I know you're gonna love this one. Did you see how much that Tim Duncan 2015 basketball card went for at a recent eBay auction?
Yeah.
42,000. Rudy,
Yeah.
you're this is kind of like this is your wheelhouse right here. Were you kind of surprised that card went for that much money? And can you enlighten everybody right now why that card was sold for so much?
Well, in the card world, you have the ever exclusive one of one card, and in most cards, it's going to be in the NBA range. It's the NBA logo, the logo man, or the Nike
Hmm.
check, or something like that. Of course, in the NFL, it's the NFL logo, the shield. I mean, there's one of one cards out there. Now, what surprises me even more is that Tim Duncan card wasn't autographed, wasn't signed.
Hmm.
Because normally, and not all the time, but a lot of times, one of one cards, especially logo men, are going to be signed. And man, I am not surprised at that. You're talking Tim Duncan logo man cards are
Hmm.
scarce and rare. So to see it go for 42,000 is not surprising at all, man. Like I said, my biggest surprise was it wasn't signed, but I stand a test and I have pictures of it. I know it's not Tim Duncan, but I actually pulled a Luka Doncic gold rookie auto numbered to 10,
Nice.
which I sold for 7,500.
Get
And
out.
yeah, I did. This was like I got it and I sold it. It was for his rookie year and all that stuff. So yeah, that same card sold for upwards of close to 43, I think, on eBay.
Nice. Nice.
So yeah, I missed out on a brand new house easily by not holding on to that card. But yeah, no, the Duncan cards they're going crazy, especially with the Hall of Fame that he just got into. But this is not a surprise to me. If you go out there and you can find something like that, get a pack and find it. I mean, you're just holding on to gold.
The and the thing about it too in the trading card business is that you're seeing like I mean I've seen signs at Target saying that they're limiting customers like one box
Oh
each.
yeah,
Is it
yeah.
that big of a deal right now?
Because of the pandemic, sports cards went up like tenfold, and you started seeing guys go in there to Target when they open, and they would literally bribe the distributor to hold product for them, and then they would go pick it up. You
Wow.
even had distributors leaving product on the truck and keeping it for themselves. I mean, this card craze went bonkers. You saw fights at Walmart, you saw fights at Target. I mean, people just grabbing everything. You had 10 guys there waiting for the product to come. The product gets out, and you had guys grabbing everything and people leaving left with nothing. So they had to limit it, and
Crazy.
it's for safety reasons, to be honest with you.
Hmm. That is wild, man. Yeah, but you definitely want to check out more of this Tim Duncan card and other cards too. Or you want to go back a few Lockdown Spurs episodes in the past where we brought in a basketball card trading guy guru. It's a great episode. But of all the episodes I've done in this offseason, Rudy, it was the basketball card one that's gotten the most listens. Go figure.
It's a
Um,
huge industry,
it's a huge, I
huge.
know it is, yeah. But you can check out more of that at kens5.com/Spurs and other Spurs news. Hey, kudos to Josh Primo. Recently hit up a local San Antonio artist, bought some product for him. It was the John Wick versus the World painting. Again, just Spurs going out there and supporting local talent. It's not the first time, Rudy. I think before he got traded, Drew Eubanks did the same. He would go hit up a lot of these art shows in San Antonio and
Mhm.
buy up some stuff. I think Keldon Johnson has done something similar, or I think Keldon Johnson hits up sneaker conventions in San
Yeah.
Antonio a lot. Yeah, I think he does that. But it just shows you how different it is now. During the Big Three era, obviously during the Kawhi era, never did you see this from the Spurs players just being visible out in public as if, you know, they don't need an entourage. They're just there, you know. And here they are, Primo just out there with his girlfriend, and I'm gonna go to this art show and buy it. Keldon Johnson, well, I'm just gonna show up to a sneaker con without security and just mingle with fans. It's definitely different time in Spurs land when it comes to interaction with fans.
It really is, and it's a good thing to see because you're right. Back in the Tim Duncan era, and actually when Robinson, was a rookie, I,
Hmm.
I saw I saw David a lot of times out with no entourage, no security, no
Oh,
nothing,
for
just
real?
with his
Okay.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, fact, I saw him a few times at University Bowl over on Deszavala because he loved bowling, and he still loves
Hmm.
bowling. So he would be out there every now and then on a Friday night. But yeah, it's good to see the Spurs youth guy and right now just out and about, interacting with fans. And the cool thing, Jeff, is that they are so approachable. Like you can approach
Hmm.
them. They will take the time. Keldon, for one, I know for a fact, will take the time to talk to you,
Hmm.
share a few laughs, even sign a couple of things. It doesn't matter. This is the way I was envisioning, not just the Spurs, but the league to move forward on. I mean,
Hmm.
there was a lot of times you would see Tim Duncan outside, out anywhere, and it was just so scared to approach him. And we kind
Hmm.
of have that same backdraft now because people are scared to approach some of these guys when they're literally just right there. I
Hmm.
mean, I love to see the guys out there. They're supporting everything local, which is huge. If you see them out there, tell them what's up. Tell them your biggest, memory of them, everything like that. They love it.
You got to check out Primo showing off the painting he got from a local San Antonio artist over at kensfi.com/smart. Hey, speaking of art, um, Keldon Johnson got himself a mural out at that famous Rudy's restaurant, big mural of the Spurs. So did Josh Primo. Primo came out pretty well, but Keldon was a little iffy. Like no knock on the artist. I know kudos on him, but yeah, I mean, this is part of a transition for the artist. I think his name is Soup Law, I think, and
Yeah.
he said he's going to transition some of the former Spurs, like your DeMar DeRozan's or Rudy Gay's, going to remove them and replace them with current Spurs. I think up next is Devin Vassell. So yeah, if you want to check that out, go to kensfi.com/Spurs. And finally, in some Spurs news and notes to catch you up, I want to talk to you about this Jock Landale. You know what? Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Let's do a quick ad real fast, but
Mhm.
let me give you some time to get your thoughts. He said that on his rookie season, he had to check his ego. So think about that a little bit right now, Rudy, as we just get ready to talk to you about Rock Auto. Yeah, this episode is brought to you about Rock Auto. With the ever increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Don't go behind those big lines at the local auto parts store. Look, you got a computer, you got a mobile phone, just go to rockauto.com right now. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Don't go spending up to 30, 50%, even 100% more for the same part from the chain store auto dealership. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. Go explore their easy-to-use website today. Find the solution to all your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in there. How did you hear about this box so they know that we sent you? An amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. We're back with Rudy Campos right here on this episode of Locked On Spurs as we go over some news and notes that you may have missed. So, Jock Landale recently did an interview with an Australian outlet and said that one of the things that he had to transition from was learning to accept that he's not going to get a lot of playing time, and that he says that he matured as the season went on, but that he did find it tough to not get those minutes. He was a different rookie in the sense that he didn't come in like out of college. He had been playing professionally, I think, in the Adriatic League and the Australian League,
Mhm.
with the team Australia in the Olympics. He had to swallow his ego. But I think that's just something all players have to go through. And as Pop says, check your ego at the door, Rudy.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who's been playing professionally for a little while. He's also been a part of Olympic teams. Guys like that, they feel that they should come in and get minutes right away because they've already played the game. They've already played against some of the better competition in the world. And I'm glad Jock understood, hey, the NBA is a different league. It's a
Mhm.
faster paced league. It's a whole new ball game. So to hear him say that he had to check his ego, the league is a very good thing. A lot of times you get guys like that that just come in, especially young guys
Mhm.
coming in and expect to get that playing time. And I mean, you can look at the past guys, like guys in the past, like Oscar Schmidt, Arvidas Sabonis, those guys. They just cooked and cooked and cooked overseas. So when they came over here, they understood the game a little bit better. Knowing Jock had to check his ego at the door is a very positive thing, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing him, next year if we still with the silver and black.
Yeah, we'll see what his future holds. Definitely a deep threat. It was his quote unquote rookie season in the NBA. Tore up the G League in one game, like with one or two games, and they recalled him right away because he was
Yeah.
just destroying everybody. But yeah, interesting to see him. But hey, look, part of the game is not just simply making the basket in the bucket or stopping your players; it's maturing. And looks like Landale did that. Rudy, we need to know all about Sweep the League. What is going on?
Well, today's draft day for NFL, so
Oh, I bet you're
yeah.
loving today, aren't you?
I
Mm.
yes, and FYI, this is like one of many podcasts I'm a part of today, so it's going to be a very busy day for us here at Sweep the League, covering NFL draft picks 1 through whatever, because there's so many damn rounds. But yeah, just right now it's NFL. Then we're gearing up towards NBA offseason and NBA draft stuff.
Go check out Rudy Campos on Twitter at Sweep the League and check out Sweep the League, especially starting today and moving forward. Rudy, I've always told you I think sometimes you're a better NFL guy, football guy, than NBA guy. Not to knock your NBA knowledge, but when it comes to football, college sports, yeah, that's where you really, really shine. But yeah, Rudy's gonna bring it. I think you've done this before, right? Did you have like an all-nighter one time of doing the NFL draft? I think you did like stayed up to like 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah, it was funny because actually, Jeff, not many people know, and they can actually go do the research. We were the first ones to do a live NFL podcast during the draft, and we brought you every pick for the first round. We did it for 6 years. Unfortunately, this is the first year we won't be doing it because schedules were conflicting, so we couldn't make it happen. But yeah, it was all of them are all nighters, man. We're all up till 2, 3 in the morning, well after the draft, just providing all we can. So it's fun though.
Yep. Check out Rudy Campos on Twitter at Sweep the League. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast: Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and now YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search Locked On Spurs and subscribe. The subscriber count is growing fast over there. People are starting to see it now. It's still a baby for YouTube purposes, but little by little, it's getting up there. And we appreciate you for listening to Locked On Spurs first thing each and every day. So for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.